You know what's terrifying? Watching someone who does everything right, eats clean, hits the gym, never touches junk food, looks completely healthy, suddenly end up in the hospital with a heart attack. And everyone around them says the exact same thing. But he was so healthy. Here's the problem with that sentence. It makes sense on the surface, but biologically, it's not always true. Because a heart attack isn't about how you look on the outside. It's about what's been quietly building inside your arteries, sometimes for years, completely invisible. Most of us picture heart disease like a clogged drain, arteries slowly filling up with gunk until they finally block completely. And yeah, that's part of it, but it's not the whole story. In fact, many heart attacks don't happen that way at all. What actually happens is this. There's a small plaque sitting inside your artery wall. It might not even be blocking much blood flow. The person feels fine, everything. But then, without warning, that plaque becomes unstable. It ruptures. Your body sees it as an injury and does what it's designed to do, forms a clot, and that clot can shut down the artery in minutes. So the heart attack isn't always the result of a slow buildup. Sometimes it's a sudden event that's been quietly waiting to happen. And this is where it gets really important, because many people who look healthy, who feel healthy, are walking around with silent risk factors they have no idea about. Let's start with cholesterol. Most people only know their LDL number, but cardiology research is showing us that particle number, often measured as something called ApoB, can actually predict risk better than LDL alone. You can have a decent LDL level and still have way too many particles floating around, damaging your artery walls from the inside. The number on the test doesn't tell the whole story. Then there's genetics. Ever heard of LPA? It's called lipoprotein a, and it's mostly inherited. You could work out every single day, eat perfectly, do everything right, and still have dangerously high level. Kicker? Most doctors don't routinely test for it, so people go years without knowing they're carrying this invisible risk. Blood pressure is another sneaky one. You might get a normal reading at your doctor's office, but what's happening when you're stressed, when you're not sleeping well, when it's late at night and your body's under pressure? Some people have what's called mast hypertension. Normal at the clinic, elevated everywhere else, and that constant pressure quietly damages the lining of your artery over time. Then there's insulin resistance. And here's the thing, you don't have to be overweight to have it. You can look slim, fit even, and still have prediabetes, fatty liver, or metabolic dysfunction happening under the surface. That internal inflammation, it increases cardiovascular risk, whether you see it or not. And sleep, chronic poor sleep, sleep apnea, late night stress, all of it ramps up inflammatory signals in your body. And those signals make plaques more unstable, more likely to rupture. It's a silent contributor most people never connect to heart health. Notice the pattern here? None of this shows up in the mirror. How fit you look and what's actually happening in your cardiovascular system don't always match, and that gap is where the danger hides. But here's the thing, I'm not telling you this to scare you. Fear without action is just anxiety. What actually matters is measurement, because once you measure, you can act. Here's the checklist that doctors actually care about. Know your blood pressure consistently, not just once a year at a checkup. Check your blood sugar markers, fasting glucose or A1C. Look at your triglycerides and HDL balance, because that ratio matters. If possible, ask your doctor about ApoB or non-HDL cholesterol, and at least once in your life. Especially if heart disease runs in your family, consider checking LPA. These numbers give you a much clearer picture than I look fit or I eat healthy ever could. And look, lifestyle still matters massively. Exercise, nutrition, stress management, sleep. They don't make you invincible, but they reduce your overall risk significantly. The point isn't that healthy habits don't work. The point is that they're not the only thing that matters. Health isn't something you can see, it's something you measure. And honestly, prevention's always easier than recovery. If this changed the way you think about heart health, subscribe, because this channel exists to break down complicated medical science into simple, practical decisions you can actually use. And drop a comment. Have you ever checked these markers before? Or was this the first time you've even heard about some of them? The discussion itself helps more people realize what truly matters inside the body. Next video, I'm breaking down the early warning signs of heart problems that people ignore because they don't look like the dramatic movie version of a heart attack. That one might actually surprise you.